If you are someone who wants to push the boundaries of speech, if you want to challenge free speech and continue to push what we consider to be acceptable, let's call you the outrageous. This is a great time to be alive. You can spread your word everywhere, to every corner of the world. There are very few limits on what you can say. But at the same time, there's another group who's trying to curb your right to say those things. Let's call them the outraged. And they both coexist. They also feel unchained. They feel that this is a wonderful time to be alive because they can take efforts to limit the outrageous. So what we have is what Jacques Berlinblot calls a profanity loop. The outrageous and the outraged are feeding off each other.
Some of the greatest legal minds our country has to offer examine the same statutes, the same laws, the same precedents, and arrive at different conclusions regarding the legality of the drug. Note, they are not discussing the morality of marijuana. Really, marijuana isn't the primary issue here at all. It actually is an issue of federal versus state authority.
How many of you heard that Greece had a national election about a month ago? The party that won, in case you haven't been reading the paper, was a party called Syriza, which is an acronym that stands for the party Coalition of the Radical Left. It represents a rejection of a program of austerity that was forced down the throat of that country by Greece's European creditors, international banks, the IMF, the European Central Bank, and the Eurozone, who dictated to that country a program of austerity, privatization of government property, slash cuts to public spending that resulted in a dramatic increase in poverty, in unemployment, in homelessness, and social despair. And it's significant for the world, I think, because I think this victory is a harbinger or a foretaste of a possible global insurgency, popular insurgency, against the control of the global economy by the banks and the corporate elites.
When is it a tribute? When is it a sample? When is it sort of paying homage? What extent are these arrangements able to be owned, to be possessed, to not be transferred, to not be stolen, right? Who owns the sounds? How much can be used freely? How do you give credit? And then, think about these tribute bands, right? You see them all the time, and they're playing all songs that aren't theirs, but they're not stealing them. It's a tribute band, right? And so what does that mean? What are the differences? And it gets a little bit tricky. So keep it in mind. Think about the parallels between what we consider to be academic honesty, plagiarism, giving proper credit, and then pay attention when you're listening to your music to see where those are and where the opportunities are, maybe to dig a little bit deeper to add a little bit of richness to your listening experience.